Good morning to all. Welcome to Karnataka LMS. I am Nagmani, Assistant Professor of English, the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. In today's class, I am going to explain the chapter 6 and 7 from the Silas Marner, prescribed by the University of Mysore to the secondary BA Optional English CBCS 4th semester 2020-21. The title of the paper is Victorian Fiction. In the chapter 6, we are going to know about the lower people of Rabelais. So far, we had known only about the upper class people of Rabelais and how these lower class people are part of the structure of the society and they provide background to the life of the rich people is being explained here. And in the chapter 7 we are going to know about Silas Marner's visit and his the narration of his loss to the members or people there. The lower class people of Rabelais are introduced here. These people and the central characters are conceived as being fully a part of the social structure. The emphasis is on the psychology and moral nature of these characters. ನಾವು ಕಳೆದೆಲ್ಲ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ in the description of Rodney and the conflict that he had faced, Dance's behavior and his reaction to his brother and Silas' reaction to the robbery. Everything, all these descriptions are the description of psychology and moral nature of these characters. ಅವರ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಹೇಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಅವರ ನೈತಿಕ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅವರ ಮಾತುಗಳು ಅವರ ಪ್ರತಿಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಮೂಲಕ ಹೊರಬರ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವೆಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾರ್ಜ್ ಎಲಿಯಟ್ನ ಎ ರಿಯಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೈಕಾಲಜಿಸ್ಟ್ ನಾವೆಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಪ್ಲೆಂಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಸೂಪರ್ಸ್ಟಿಷನ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಇವರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಅವರು ಮೂಢನಂಬಿಕೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಳುಗಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ನೋ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಥಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್. ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ನಂಬಿಕೆಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ದ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೆರೆಮನೀಸ್ ಆರ್ emphasized here. Choosing of a deputy constable itself shows the importance of ceremony by taking a mock ceremonial form. ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ನ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಲೋ ಎಪಿಸ್ಕೋಪರಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಸೆರೆಮನಿಯನ್ನು ಅವರು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್. ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಯಾರ್ಡ್. He settled in the Warren and he was respected in the beginning because he was a man of custom. The lower classes of Rabelais were gathered at the Rainbow while their better were attending Mrs. Osgood's birthday dance. ಅವರ ಮೇಲಿನವರೆಲ್ಲ ಮಿಸಸ್ ಓಸ್ಗುಡ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಡೇ ಡ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Conversation was at a high pitch. When Silas approached the door of the Rainbow, the pipes were puffed in silence. ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೈ ಪಿಚ್ಚಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. And Mrs. Snell, the landlord, he was of neutral position. ಅವನು ಈ ಕಡೆಗಿರಲ್ಲ ಆ ಕಡೆಗಿರೋ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಅವನು. And he began his conversation with the butcher about the cow that he had slaughtered the previous day. Slowly the argumentative conversation began between the farrier and the butcher about the ownership of the cow. Finally the landlord settled the dispute by declaring that they were both right and wrong. ಇವರಿಬ್ಬರಲ್ಲೂ ಆ ಓನರ್ಶಿಪ್, ಅದು ಅವನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ರೆಡ್ ಡರ್ಬನ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ, ಇವನಿರೋದು ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟಸ್ತು ಅಂತ ಇವನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗೆ ಅವರ ನಡುವಿನ ವಾಗ್ವಾದವನ್ನು ಇವನು ಇಬ್ಬರೂ ಸರಿ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಅವನು ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಆ ಇಶ್ಯೂನ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸ್ನೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾಸೆ to recall the owner of the cow. Mr. Lammeter's father first came to Rabelais. ಅವ್ರು ಯಾವಾಗ ಬಂದು ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟರ್ ಓನರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕೌ ರಾವ್ಲೆಗೆ ಅಂತ ಅದನ್ನು ನೆನೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳು ಅಂತಾರೆ. Massey, he was a tailor and the parish clerk. First he criticizes and told him to ask his assistant Mr. Touquet, who had been to school at Tarley. ನಾನು ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್, ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಿ, ನೋಡಿ ಟೂಕೆ ಯಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾನು ಟಾರ್ಲೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಅವನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಟೂಕೆ ಕೋಟೆಡ್ ದ ಸ್ಯಾಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೇಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಹಿ ವುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ನನ್ನ ಅಳತೆಗೆ ಮೀರಿದ, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಮೀರಿದ ಯಾವುದೇ ವಿಚಾರ ಮಾತಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತುಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಬೆನ್ ವಿಂಥ್ರಾಪ್, ಲೀಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಚರ್ಚ್ ಕಾಯರ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಸೆ ಮೇಡ್ ಫನ್ ಆಫ್ ತುಕೆ ಫಾರ್ ಇಸ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ಯೂನ್ ಸಿಂಗಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬಿಗ್ಯಾನ್ ಟು ಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸ್ಯಾಮ್. ಆಗ ಅವರಿಬ್ಬರು ಅವನನ್ನು ಆಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ಯೂನ್ ಹಾಡು ಹೇಳ್ತೀಯ ಅಂತ. ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್ ಟು ದ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬೈ ಅಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ವಾಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ವಾಸ್ ರಾಂಗ್. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸರಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಪ್ಪು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. And now Massey continued his story of Mr. Lametter's father. This time, Massey, taking interval again and again, explained them about Lametter, answering their questions. ಮಧ್ಯ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟರ್ ಕೇಮ್ ದೇರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಿಟ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಯಾರ್ಡ್. He brought fine sheep with him. He had good land at North Yard, but he sold it and came and settled in the Warren. He married the sister, Mr. Osgood. Massey, as he was the parish clerk, helped to marry them, and there was a problem in their marriage. What was the problem? And the key phrases said by the rector, "Will thou have this man to be thy wedded wife? And will thou have this woman to be thy husband, wedded husband? Wedded wife, wedded husband." And it was the invalid statement. And it would not give any meaning. And if he was worried if the ceremony would be invalid because of this invalid statement. And but when he questioned the rector informed him that grammar was not important, meaning was not important, but the register of their marriage was important. This was a familiar story to all those hearers, and they asked correct questions to Massey. This story was told for many times by Massey, and they wanted to hear to this story again and again, and used to ask many questions, and he answered all the questions. Now the landlord asked about the land where Mr. Lametter settled, the Warrens. Massey said that it once belonged to a London tailor who tried to make his son country gentleman there. ವಾರನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಲಂಡನ್ ಟೈಲರ್ಗೆ ಸೇರಿತ್ತು. ಟೈಲರ್ ವೃತ್ತಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಜನ ಅವಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದರಿಂದ he wanted to make his son a country gentleman, but he sent his son to London, but the boy died, and the father also died, and left all his property to London charity. And it was believed that his ghost was said to haunt the stables. ಇನ್ನೂ ಆ ಲಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನ ದೆವ್ವ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಂಬ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಡೌಲಾಸ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ and only scorn for gods. They didn't believe the existence of ghost. ಇವರಿಬ್ಬರು ದೆವ್ವನ ನಂಬೋದಿಲ್ಲ. And the landlord compromised that the ability to see the ghost was like a nose for smelling cheese. Some have it and some don't. ಇದು ability to smell the cheese ಇರೋ ಹಾಗೆ, it was the ability to find ghost was like the ability of finding the cheese by nose. Some have it and some don't have. ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ದೆವ್ವ ಇರೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. At this moment, Silas was standing within the room. ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದ Silas. Even the farrier was startled by the feeling that he was the ghost. ಅವನ ಸೋಲ್ ಆಚೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ. ಜಿಮ್ ರೋಡ್ನೆ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಥಾಟ್ ದಟ್ he might have dead and his soul might have come there ಅಂತ. Landlord asked Silas what his business was. ಏನು ವಾಟ್ Silas, why are you here ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Silas exclaimed that he had been robbed. ನಾನು ದರೋಡೆ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. And wanted to meet the constable just in the square cash. Seeing Jim Rodney there, he requested him to give his money back, and he would not set the constable on him and would allow him a guinea. ನಾನು ನಿನಗೊಂದು ಗಿನ್ನಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಪ್ಪ, ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡು ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಅಂತಾನೆ. ರಾಡ್ನೆ ಡಿನೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್. At last Silas was made to sit down and tell his story. The landlord made him to sit down and tell his story. Marner told his story, and they believed every word of Marner. And all their doubts about Marner, that he was a ghost, he was a peculiar person, now vanished. And the landlord assured Marner that it was not Jim Rodney illa, because when Marner was out, because he had mentioned the time when he went out, at that time Jim Rodney was sitting like a gentleman in the rainbow and was drinking. And now Marner apologized to Jem for accusing him. ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. And Silas was so distraught that there was immediate sympathy for him, and all suspicion ವ್ಯಾನಿಶ್. ಈಗ ಅವನ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅನುಮಾನ ಬಗೆಹರಿತು, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಜನ ಅವನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಿಂಪತಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ದ ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ ದ ಟೂ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸಿಬಲೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ ಶುಡ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ ಇನ್ ಬೆಡ್. ದ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ವಾಸ್ ಇಲ್, he was bedridden. He told that two of the most sensible person should go to the constable and to have one appointed as a deputy. The farrier clearly expected to be deputized himself. ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟಿನ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ನ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ದ ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ, ಐ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟೈಸ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಸಿ ರಿಕಾಲ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಾದರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಹಿಮ್ ದಟ್ ನೋ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್. ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಹೇಳಿದರು, ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕುಡ್ ನೆವರ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಕೌ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಎ ಕೌ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕುಡ್ ನೆವರ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಅಂತ. ದ ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ವಿಶ್ ಟು ಲೂಸ್ ದ ಟೈಟಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, ಬಟ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಲಾ ಅಲೋಡ್ ದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸರ್ವ್ ಇಫ್ ಹಿ ವಿಶ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟು. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಓದೋರೆಲ್ಲ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಫ್ ದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ವಿಶ್, the law allowed the doctor, if he would not wish to be a doctor, he could become something that he would wish for ಅಂತ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ದ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ ಸೆಟಲ್ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಯೂಟ್ ಬೈ ಪರ್ಸೇಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಆಸ್ ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ಫ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ಗೆ ನೀನೇ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟೈಸ್ಡ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಡು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ದ ನಾವೆಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೈಲಾಸ್. ಐ ಕೋಟ್, ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಂಜ್ಲಿ novel situation of opening his trouble to his traveling neighbors. Now he has opened his trouble to his traveling villagers. Sitting by the fire, warmth of fire, which was not his own. ಅವನ ಮನೆ ಒಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಒಲೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು, ಅವ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ತನ್ನ ಕಷ್ಟ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ, feeling the presence of faces and voices which were his nearest promise of help. Those voices, those faces were assuring him of some help. It had doubtless its influence on Marner. ನಿಜವಾಗಿಯೂ, ವಿತೌಟ್ ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್, ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್ಡ್ Marner in spite of his passionate preoccupation with the loss. Our consciousness rarely registers the beginning of growth within us. ನಾವು our consciousness, ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಗ್ರಹಿಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋ, ನಮ್ಮ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನು ಎನಿ ಮೋರ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಅಸ್. We observe, our consciousness observes, notices only the growth without us, not within us. There have been many circulations of the sap before we detect the smallest sign of the bud. ನಾವು ಬಡ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಿಫೋರ್ ವಿ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸೈನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಡ್, ಒಂದು ಮೊಗ್ಗು ಅರಳಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಗಮನಿಸುವ ಮುಂಚೆ, ಆ ಮೊಗ್ಗು ಅರಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ there would be many circulation of the sap. ಆ ಗಿಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ವೃತ್ತಗಳು ಮೊಗ್ಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಪುಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತವೆ. ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಏಕದಮ್ ಬದಲಾಗ್ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ. ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸಡನ್ there would not be a change. A murderer would never become a murderer all of a sudden. Many incidents, pains, sufferings in his life would have made him to become a murderer. In this way, she is saying, there was there is some change is taking place because of the warmth that he received from by the villagers in Silas, and only the sign of bud will be detected only when the stage of bud, not before its circulations. I think you have understood. That's why, you see, she is speaking of the psychological changes that were taking place and the things that were of good influence on Silas Marner. That's why she is known as a novelist of intellectual life, novelist of brain, psychology. Yeah, I think I have understood the explanation of this session. If you have any doubt or query, please post it in the comment box. Take care. Bye.